Hello, everyone. It is time for class. Okay. The audio doesn't sync up perfectly to this camera, but we found that the audio quality is better when it goes through my phone. So we'll stick to this way. We'll stick to it this way. Happy Friday. All right, it looks like this is set up. It's time for class. Boy, do I feel like I have stories to tell. Oh my God. This design felt like it kicked me in the butt. And so if I seem a little extra nippy about this design, it's because I am. No sound. I think many folks can hear me, hopefully. Should be coming through my phone audio. So wave hello if you're here. We are gonna jump right in and do a necklace design featuring some beautiful new beads at the shop. I have iced tea in hand to try to make myself half as nippy. Lori, no fruit. Did you guys see Lori's post last week? We did the crescent moon design, and Lori made a post saying hers looked like bananas, which they did. I mean, once you said it, like, okay, a little bit, but it's just if you open up the moon a little bit, and then it becomes a crescent. But Lori, I got a good laugh out of your banana post. Today, no more fruits, Lori. We are doing ovals. So let me flip the camera around. Something like that should work. And you can hear the lovely music of my neighbors. Okay. So we're designing around ovals today. So we've got some beautiful new beads in the shop, including these new pendants that Rachel and I found at the LA warehouse a couple months back. And the best we've been able to identify them as, because they're a little bit of a mystery as this older stock item, is they look to be an Azurite malachite mix with some sort of jasper. And they're stunning. The color is just beautiful. And I wanted to do them justice today. And I thought we might as well use what we have. So they're this beautiful oval design, so I wanted to play off that. And I came up with something like this. So here's what the current idea is. It's a little hard to hold until we get it fully strung up. Is we're going to be working on some oval components and getting these oval pendants wrapped up with a million miles of wire. So I loved it with the copper. And then we also had a whole palette I had picked out yesterday, and we're going to use a lot of that palette, such as some bellflowers. These are a lily design bellflower. We've got some of these 3-cut rounds, and these actually work perfectly because they have green mixed in them, which helps, I think, bring out the green of the ovals. We've got some bronzite to play with. And we've got some of these new check glass twists that are funky and cool. So all these are on the website now, and it is our challenge today to see how we want to use them. You can see this is an in-process design. I have the ideas, and we'll go over these techniques of these, but we're going to be creating this design today. This is very much in process, and we'll see kind of how this turns out. At a certain point, I had to pause. I was getting so frustrated. I just kept trying things. I made like this kind of oval where I wrapped on some thinner gauge wire, and I like the look of it, but it's much harder to do. And I don't trust it quite as much, so I scrapped that, went closer to how Rachel Malice would do a loop design. And then I started experimenting with wrapping various beads onto these ovals. I'm trying to see if I can show you the example I'd come up with. And none of those were really speaking to me. This was, Kathy suggested I put like a line of them to kind of match the wire. And I like it in theory, but it was not calling to me. I would have coiled that all the way back up, and it wasn't doing it for me. So I'm convinced we will come up with something today, and either we'll leave them as these ovals, and I've textured them, so they have a nice hammer tone texturing to them, but I still think they could have something. Another idea I had before class was maybe a few little dangles from the bottom of them for a little bit extra interest. Maybe. We will see. So shall we begin? So we'll start with the techniques. So you have those, and then you can choose how to run with the design as you like. Hi, Julie Peterson. Okay, I think we should start with the Brio wrapping of the pendant. That is the most satisfying thing here. And if you want to take away one technique from this, that would be a great one, because you could do this on all sorts of pendants. So to do these, I'm using a 22 gauge wire, but this is super flexible. As long as it fits through your hole and you're comfortable wrapping it, you could use a 24, 22, 20, and it'd be just fine. If you use thinner gauges, you'll obviously have to do more wrapping, but it could end up having a tighter look to it, which could be cool. Andrew's saying it's dangles inside the Brios. I know, I'm considering it. I know, I would have to have something something maybe top drill that feels right. And I don't know what that is yet, because I don't think this would be hard to get that to squeeze in there. That's a little bit too big, and it's not top drilled. So I don't know, I got overwhelmed. So at that moment in the design process, you just need to pause. I'm just gonna get more angry right now with this design if I don't hit pause. So I got a nice break. And now we're here at class, and I feel like I can finally come back to a little more refreshed. And I think we'll come up with something that we like. Okay, there's nothing like iced tea to make me feel better. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my 22 gauge wire. And you need a lot of wire to do this oval wrapping. I'm going to go ahead and measure, I'm not measuring, but I'm doing this essentially as an arm span here. So it's probably like over 3 feet minimum you're going to want to have ready for yourself, because you don't want to run out. So I'm even adding a little more just for bonus. I like to then just warm up my wire by running I'm running my thumb all the way down, which is quite long in this case. Okay. And let's grab one of our ovals. So these are a top drilled item. So they're perfect for Brio wrapping. And don't be too scared about Brio wrapping. It's worth practicing and getting more comfortable with it, because it does get better. If you don't feel like the Brio wrapping is quite right for what you're wanting, you can also string them up. And no, you don't have to do any sort of wrapping. Vanya, I got these big rolls from Monster Slayer. Their website's really hard to follow, but they have a good price on these pound rolls. I'm trying to remember what I was just looking on the other page, because I needed to restock some of my wire. So let's go in and bring on our piece. You're gonna have one much shorter end and one super long end. And just pinch that in. There's so many ways to wrap a Brio. Here is one way. Our goal is to bring those together pretty centered, because it's really going to affect, let's take off some of this. It's going to affect if this stays level. If it's off center, then the wrapping will start to become unlevel and kind of go at an angle. So I'm really trying to see if I can get that pretty even in the middle there. Okay, that's decent. It's not perfect, but I think that'll do for our purposes. And I'm not going to leave too much space here, so I'm going to go ahead and grab those pretty close to the stone. Come on, there we go. Fold those back. And then just make a classic simple loop, or in this case, a wrapped loop with both strands. I'm intentionally using both strands for a little extra stability here. It's a thinner gauge wire, it's a larger stone, so it really just can't hurt to have that extra. Then we're just gonna kind of go into a wrapped loop, as you likely know. And I like to get rid of that extra wire pretty quick because it tends to get in the way of so keep things simple for yourself here. We're trying to do a lot of wrapping. Rochelle says, is soft flex craft wire equivalent to beadle German style wire? You'll have to, it depends on the softness of the wire. German style wire is a harder wire, which is why folks like Sarah Lovecraft really prefer it. It's a little bit more, kind of almost feels a bit more work hardened from the start. I'm using a bare copper, so this is pretty soft. I believe Softflex sells a lot of copper-based wire. So let's go ahead and do our wrapping. I've got a huge tail of wire to deal with here, but it'll go away quickly. So things look decently level there, so we should be good. I think it'll be slightly off, but not too much that I'll mind it. Hopefully. Carol, thank you for telling me. Being on camera is not my specialty with my hands, so I'm gonna move everything a little closer to me to make this a little easier. And so all we're gonna do is slowly wrap and wrap and wrap. So to keep it tight, keep that thumb with the wire so that it's staying nice and tight as you use your other hand to turn. Purchase said, would you be able to do this with a bead that's drilled through the middle instead of top drilled? Let me think about that for a second. You can do a Brio wrap on a center drilled round bead, but it doesn't quite achieve the same geometry because the top drill, the idea is you're wrapping just the top of it and then you get your whole bead below it. So we're just going to you want to really kind of keep an eye on it and making sure everything is staying together. It does not need to be perfect. And I'm much more concerned about this front side than I am about this back side. Kind of already chosen this to be my front in terms of how the loop is done. So you can choose how far you want to go with this. There's essentially no limit. The only thing I really was paying attention to is after I did my first one, I then compared them to make sure they look decently similar. The one with the most wire, which happened to be this one, I then just put in the middle because it felt the most balanced that way. So a classic Brio wrapping is probably not going to have this much wrapping, but since we have so much pendant to play with, like why not? It's almost like we're adding we're metal dipping this component. So something like that. It's about a third, maybe a little bit more than a third. Feels pretty good to me. And you don't have to use it if your folks are curious about what beads you can use. Like, you don't need. I mean, a top drilled oval isn't that common. You can use like a classic Brio shape. Like this is a heart Brio, top drilled. And you can do the same sort of wrapping where you can choose to do as much of the coiling as you like to get the effect you want. Okay, so I'm going to say this is where I'm stopping. And it exactly answers Donna's question, how do you keep it from unraveling? So we need to tuck it into itself. So I am holding that last piece in place while I wrap it around the back. Now I'm holding it on the back. And this is the back of my wire. See, this is the side that's all pretty looking. This is the back. And I'm holding this tight so there's tension all the way around. And now I'm holding it and there's still that tension so that I can bend this up and find a spot for it to wrap around. And you can even wrap around a couple times. And that'll really nicely secure it. Some folks like to bring that piece up in the front as a little extra detail. Totally a great option. That's where we're heading. Kind of fun, right? So that's one of them. Shall we do that once more together? Gosh, I could just make a whole necklace. At this point, I'm unstringing this. We're going to redo this anyway. Come up with a new design. They're actually kind of gorgeous as a whole set together, but it did like that the ovals added some space into the design. That felt right to me. Alrighty, we've done it once. Let's do it once more, just to make sure we're feeling good about that. So I had about a foot of extra wire, so it wasn't even that much crazy amount extra. So about 3 feet should do it fine. Let me come back in with my 22 gauge wire and give myself a nice arm span. Waiting on a live signal. Oh goodness. Auction off wrapped ones. No, you guys can do this. I promise. People make jokes about brio wrapping because yes, it is tricky, but the more you do it, you'll find the methods that work best for you. I often do the brio wrappings with the 2-wire technique that I just showed. I find it slightly easier, a little less factors at play. Alrighty, wire's been warmed up. Let's grab another one of our beautiful pendants. If you want to pick some of these up, we've got some left on the site at samsbeadshop.com. And again, you just want a short end and a mile-long end. Constance says you can do a copper bead in between wrap beads. Yeah, what I like about I feel like with this design is there's a million ways we could take it. So let's experiment after we do this wrapping. So I'm just gonna bring both of my wires towards the center, keep everything nice and tight, and then come in and pinch that. And let's try to find the center. You can even come in with some flat nose, and that'll get those pretty much sitting right against the stone. And from there, now that's even closer to the stone, you can pretty much grab it right against the stone, because I don't want too much of a gap for this wrapping. Let's say this is going to be the front of our brio. Yeah, sure. Go ahead and push it over 90 degrees. And then bring both strands back towards you. Rotate your pliers up and bring those to both wires to the back. So now you have your loop ready to turn into a wrapped loop. Normally I like, looks like I need to, looks like our wires aren't behaving, okay. It's looking a little off center, but hopefully I'm gonna see if I can just pull that over a little bit. Looks like it's a little better now. So let's do our brio wrapping, starting with our wrapped loop. This part does not matter too much since it tends to get covered up a bit. And I'm going to go ahead, see how that shorter wire likes to get in the way. That's only going to get worse, so let's get rid of that. This really got tangled. My goodness. Okay, if that's the front, let's still be conscious of where we're cutting it. So we're going to have it end in the back there, so that we're not going to see that detail. And I'll gently tuck that wire in. And now we are free. And let's do our crazy brio wrapping. So just start and see, let it go. There's not a lot of method at this point, other than kind of watching it and keeping things in line. And I'm really using that pressure on it with this thumb so everything stays together. The wire is being kept towards the stone and this hand is twisting. And basically, I'm mostly doing this by feel. I can feel the wire hitting up against the next level of the wire. Sharon says, my first time to watch, just got my first Sam's Beatbox. Yes! We love new members of the community. Hello! What about a wire design in the middle of the ovals instead of adding more beads to take away from these beautiful wrapped beads? Wire design in the middle of the ovals. A wire design in the middle. I was thinking about that. Like we could do some sort of weaving. We could do some sort of crossing. Yeah, there's... This is part of the reason I got so frustrated. It was like, I kept trying things and everything was like, yeah, I like it, but I don't know why I'm not loving it. But we will try a couple more things. That is my goal in this class, for us to explore a bit, because that's kind of my whole mentality with wire. It always has been, is that it's very much like a clay in terms you are in control of it, but it is a little sassy and it's gonna have a mind of its own too if you don't kind of figure out what it likes. So I'm at this point checking to see if it's close. Looks like I need at least a couple more, but I'm about to run out of wire, so I might not have a choice. Where am I? I'm at the back at this point. So just in case I'm about to run out, I'm holding that tight, bringing it up, and doing a couple wraps up here. Carefully tuck that in. You don't want to get things too messed up here. Okay, I'll call that. Alrighty, number 2. So I think we can move on to another technique here. These stones are very fun to play with. We have these top-showed ovals and polychrome in the shop as well. I think this design would be stunning with them because polychrome has this beautiful texturing through it. It'd be really cool. Hi, Kayla, welcome. Donna says the wire she buys is very sassy. Okay, so we've done our brio wrapping, which I think is one of the most fun parts of this design. Let's work on our oval charms. So regardless of what we want to do with oval charms, the base technique is going to be the same. So I'm going to go through that. I would recommend using one of those oval mandrels. Beadalon sells it, and I'm probably at this point going to need to stock it for the shop. I have a cart of Beadalon items I've been eyeing for the shop, and it's one of the tools I use the most. And mine disappeared, and it bummed me out because I was like, it was one of the first, as I went looking for it immediately when I wanted to do this design. I was like, okay, we're doing oval design. I'm going to need the oval mandrel. So I walked around this house looking for something oval. There's nothing oval in my house. Do you have anything oval in your house that works? I'm convinced nothing in our lives is oval. Nothing. I checked bottles and medicines and all sorts of tubes. Nothing was a nice oval. The nicest oval I found was this hammer. Has a semi-oval base to it. It is not a perfect oval, which is why the ovals have a little bit of personality. So that's the best I can find, which is why I'm recommending that is a tool that is worth getting. You get you get like the triangle and the oval and the round all as one set. And I'm gonna need to get a new one if mine doesn't show up. So for now, I'm using this guy. I was lucky that it's just slightly a little smaller than the ovals. If I had the mandrel, I could have chosen to match the size directly, but I don't actually mind that these are a little smaller. Amelia says the bottom of a lighter. Wait, that's a great, actually the best idea I've heard so far. Oh, yeah, you theoretically could use the bead itself to make the oval shape, but we need something a bit more secure. So I'll show that what I mean. The lid of deodorant. Okay, now folks are thinking of things, but often the ovals are not perfect ovals, and it wasn't quite what I wanted. So I've got some 18 gauge wire here. You don't really need that much. Just about 8 inches should be plenty. Let's get that warmed up a little bit. So pretend this is a mandrel, because essentially oh my god, essentially the technique is going to be the same. You're just going to form that wire, pushing kind of with that similar thumb pressure all the way around. It's very long hammer. So what I'm doing here is I've brought it all the way around, and then you need to bring it past so that even the top gets some rounding to it. So each one needs to go past the top ridge and push down so that it ends up being a full oval. Pretty impressed for a hammer. The polychrome's not showing on the site? Let me check. That seems, we had so much polychrome. Jesse, if you're watching, could you check on the polychrome? Because I know we had a ton of that in that overflow section of the shop. Okay, so we've got our oval, but to keep forming it, it is so much easier to keep it on your mandrel. This is a Sarah Lovecraft technique, and she is genius about this, because if you keep it on it while you're forming it, everything will stay nice and pretty. So I'm going to come in with my flat nose to make the bend. There's a lot of things going on at the same time. I'm holding this with a good bit of pressure so that there's not gaps forming around the shape. And now, while I'm doing that, I need to find the center point of the oval as best I can and give that a nice 90-degree bend. So it should be something like that. To continue forming it, keep it on the mandrel as we start. That's why the wire mandrel is so much easier, because it is not this large. And by keeping it on this shape, it is going to stay in form while I wrap a couple loops. This is kind of the importance of the centering. I couldn't quite see what I was doing, trying to stay on camera. It's a little off center. I found that I was able to fix this. There's some forgiveness if I literally just kind of scooch it over a bit, kind of reworks my wire, let's do that a little bit more. And it'll make it a little less perfect, but at least it'll be a little bit more centered. And then we'll futz with it more. See, it already got over a little bit more, and that'll totally work. So let's finish forming this. I'll bring that to the back. And let's get these trimmers. See how my wire went flying? That is bad wire technique. Don't do what I'm doing. What you should, anytime you are flush cutting, you should be holding the wire you're cutting in place to catch it when it flies, so it doesn't start flying in the first place. Alrighty, at this point, identify where the front of your oval is. For me, it's definitely this guy, because this looks way different of how the wire is laying. This is clearly my front, so I'm going to want my loop coming towards me and towards the back. So flip it over and bend, push it towards what will be the front of your pendant. And we're just going to make a simple loop here. So give yourself enough wire to make decent sized simple loop. All right, so you can see that it's there, but it's a little messed up. So let's start by getting that loop straightened out a little bit. And then we can check the shape a bit by putting it back onto the mandrel. And this will definitely help it out a bit. We've got Shara in the house. Okay, I can already tell it. That helped it. Okay. It's hammer time. This is gonna be noisy. A little bit more padding down. Rubber is probably a lot better. And I'm gonna come in. My goodness. Everything get out of the way. Okay. And I'm going to start with the flat side of my hammer. And then I'll come in with this ball peen. I've got 2 hammers options currently. And you can see how different in size the ball peens are. This is what I'm going to want for my texturing. Since it's so much smaller, it'll make the texture that I want with all the little small dimpling. So I'm going to start with my flat end of my hammer. Keep that loop off of it so we're not messing that up. You can already see my slightly off-kilter oval. We're going with it. I'm just saying if I want to. Once you start hammering it, it's going to start getting really work hardened, and there's not going to be much you can do to adjust it. I just twisted. Okay, wow, that twisting technique actually works fine with the oval shape. Nice. We're back in the center. Hey, Sabrina, welcome. And do a good amount of hammering so that a flat surface appears. It's on that flat surface that we'll then be able to add the texturing. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to flip to the other side of my hammer. And you don't need to do this quite as hard. You just need to do it a lot. Looks like Jesse has located the polychrome pendants. Thank you, Jesse. Those are actually, I think they might be in even the same exact size as these guys. So that'd be nice to have a second stone option you can do this design in. So I'm intentionally changing the angle that the hammer's coming from, so that the sides of the wire are also getting nice and textured. So it should start to get, see if you can see it on the camera. That sort of hammer tone finish, I think, is stunning. This is I didn't think I said earlier, this is a steel bench block and a hammer. If someone knows, I believe this would be called a ball peen hammer because of this side. And I think this would be considered the chasing side, but I'm there are folks who are hammer experts because hammers can make all sorts of different textures and whatnot. There are so many types of hammers. So I flipped it over and I'm texturing the other side. And I guarantee you'll feel twice as good after you finish this and exhausted, but you'll feel great. So here's where we're at. Got a little change of shape. Might not be able to adjust that back. No, we're good. Hammering will kind of expand everything a bit. So I feel like this got a little long. So I'm just gonna see if I can pull that out a little bit. Just a little bit. That'll definitely work. Char, aren't they gorgeous? No, Laura, I think you weren't wrong on the polychrome. Something was up with it. So Jesse has solved it, and they are now showing on the website. Okay. From there, you could leave it as is, which is what I might end up doing. Wow, I've got so many of these to play with at this point. And then grab our other earlier ones. I really don't mind the look that way. Let's see if I can lower this. I like the exposed look, but I want to try a couple things and see what we think. So far we've tried wrapping one line of beads, independent that continually disappears. But I want to see what it looks like with some dangles from the bottom. So there's so much weight on the top of the green, maybe we should add some weight to the bottom of these ovals. Maybe. So I've got a couple ideas. We've got some little green rondelles, and it could be nice to do this with a mix of beads. Something like that, possibly. Whatever it is, it's gotta be small or it's gonna feel off. I also wanted something a little darker. So the other idea was the rice beads. Hi, Kathy. The rice beads, actually, this is the emerald ones from the rice bead mix. Those emerald ones are a really nice tone. So we could do like, as maybe even up to 5, potentially dangling from those. We'll just be very busy attaching them. But I think it's worth trying. Anyone want to try with me? Let's grab, there's some 22 gauge still, that should work. We'll make some quick knotted head pins to do these. Who's got our knotted head pin alert? Is Wanda here? Alrighty, Sarah Lovecraft's knotted head pins, here we go. We're gonna start with our round nose and make 2 full loops until we have returned to where we originally cut the wire. And there is where we're gonna bend it, 90 degrees. And then put it right back in itself. And this is when you need nylon jaw. Go. Grab that tail with nylon jaw and pull until you have your knotted head pin. Should look something like that. Come on, there you go. So definitely feel like I've gotten faster at these. So let's prep a few wires and see if we can speedy through some of our knotted head pins. Okay. The other way you could match it is we could theoretically wrap these ovals in the same way, but you would have to kind of weave it so that the wire stays nicely on that. but let's try idea number one thing at a time. Alrighty, let's make some speed head pins. I bet Sarah can make them in 3 seconds by now. Okay. Oh, there we go. I love that it makes it little like rosebud. All right, so all that is our round nose, 2 full wraps, 90-degree bend, back in on itself. And we've got 3. Let's do 5 just in case we end up wanting to put 5 rice beads onto that oval. You could also, of course, use a normal head pin. I just never seem to have the head pins I want near me. And these are so fun. Nicole's yet to master the knotted head pin. Nicole, you've only seen it Sarah do it 1,000 times. All right, here's our last knotted head pin for this one. Alrighty, 5th knotted head pin. Who is crating along with me today? Or are you someone who likes to do something else and crate later? Because that's actually more me with a class. I like to watch lives. Like I'll watch Sarah's or Nilay's lives while I'm unstacking the dishwasher, and I'm like, ooh, that's such a great idea. And I could do that later. Okay, we get to decide if you want to do wrapped loops. It's a 22 gauge wire, so ideally we would want to do a wrapped loop. So here we go. We got to make these loops big enough so that they have room. Grab an oval, put it on. If the loop is big enough, it's going to be a lot easier to connect these because you'll have more likely to be able to grab that loop. Go ahead and do a wire wrap loop. And of course, we're doing this as an experiment, so hopefully we like it. I think I'm already actually liking, potentially really liking it. Let's see just what one looks like and see if I actually kind of like it. Let's do the other 4 and see if we still like it. Okay, we're coming in to rake the rest of our wrapped loops. And we'll just keep adding them onto this. If you cut it close enough, sometimes you don't quite have to tuck in that end, or just a little bit. I was curious if there was one other bead mixed in there too, as a cluster. Let's try it. Might as well follow the idea. We hate it, that's fine. I've actually got a wire sticking out of this bulb head pin, which is not, I must have not cut it flush. So we have a couple folks asking to see the knotted head pin again, which is, I'd be happy to show that. I remember the moment I first saw Sarah do it, I'm like, no way, that you can do that easily? That's crazy. So I'm going to intentionally do this larger bead in the middle, kind of hopefully become the center of the cluster. You can even do extra wrappings on these guys, which will kind of match the wrappings on those. It could be our theme in this design. There are no rules. Please remember this. I have to remind myself this. There's no right way to make a piece. If it feels right to you, then that's right. Once I use up these headbands, I'll show it again. If you also want to see the pro make it, go check out Sarah Lovecraft's YouTube channel. And she shows how to make them all the time. Wanda! It's Wanda. Hello, Wanda. Welcome, welcome. How are you today? I'm catching about 5% of the comments today because I have so given myself a job of much wire wrapping. So let's try adding some extra wire to that rice bead and it'll have a hat. It'll just be a little harder to tuck in that end this way. All right, 4 beads. Let's do our 5th and see what we think. Did I say something wrong, Shira? I did indeed mean to say there's no wrong way to make a piece. There's also not a right way. Same difference? There's not one right way. All right, let's get this last one on there. I hope we like it. We put a lot of effort into this idea. And I'm going to do this one on the other side as well of that yellow bead. And that yellow bead I want to use in the stringing part of this design, which hopefully we can get to today. Okay, that is gonna be hard to show it hanging. Let's see what we think of the balance of that. If we had one of those. Potentially, I'll zoom in for you. I feel like it potentially could work. There's not a million things on my table. Let's just pause for a second. Sometimes I think with my work, I'll immediately start undoing something without ever taking that moment to pause and like actually look at it. Remember, I took like one painting class one time and they're like, how about you step away for a second? I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, I don't know. It's one I think I'm gonna have to hold up to see what I think. I'm definitely intrigued by the extra intrigue, but why don't we try something else on the other oval and see if we like it even more. Mike says, a dagger hanging from the top loop, like inside the loops. I know, something inside makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Now, of course, I need the right bead to do it. So let me grab a couple beads. Let's see. These are some leaves or some green drops. Let's look at those two. Michelle says, maybe after doing the stringing part, you could decide if you want to change the ovals. Why aren't you wise, Michelle? I'm like, no, I want to solve this right now. So we could fit 2, which is kind of a strange number, of the green drops, or 1 with something else. It'll just be a little, it's the execution of hanging it that's going to feel. Laura says, why not one of your bellflowers that you have on the chain? I think I'm more intrigued by a top drill bead just because it'd be slightly simpler to add. I've got a champagne leaf, got a green leaf, but it's a lot lighter than, I don't know if the leaf is quite what I want. Because I like that we're heading in this geometric direction. I might just not have the bead right next to me at this moment. So yeah, maybe it's worth. Do you have some prehnite? Wait, that's cool. Like a few prehnite pieces. The travel version of Sam's speed shop. Okay, that's an idea. But yeah, let's. It will be harder to add on to the ovals once it's strung up. So unless we undo the loops later on, which is a possibility. So we could do that. Let's go to stringing for a second. So let's take a pause. Okay, iced tea refresh. Let's go to the next step. Okay, any votes for any of those things we just looked at? I'm too deep into this at this point. Randy, maybe a total of 3 beads, removing 1 on each end. Oh, just fewer beads in the cluster. Yeah, it's a possibility. Or more beads in the cluster. Shara says, wire the beads to each side of the oval. Inside, yeah. Okay, let's pause there. Let's go to some stringing. So I've got some lovely soft flex. This is Butterscotch Imperial Topaz, which I have actually is new to me. And I always like to start with the center of my piece. So let's just get that on. And in the photo I posted, and then originally at the end of class, I had lots of these beads as the spacers, but I'm a little bit intrigued to lighten up the design because I really want the focus to stay on these ovals. So I'm going to try to introduce a few seed beads just to make my life even more difficult today. There's a very lively kitchen conversation happening. Okay, let's try. I think I like that more already. Mixing in some smaller beads into the string. And I think actually I'll show you that one with an oval. I still think there's a possibility that the ovals could stay just as ovals, as their own design element. Okay, I think these need to be a little bit farther apart, but I like where it's heading. I think it just needs a couple more seed beads. I don't want to have to add a whole nother 6mm bead. So I'm using some 10-0 bronze seed beads as some spacers, but use whatever you like. Okay. Whoa, that was a happy accident. I was supposed to put on a wire oval. But what if the wire ovals were less prominent and instead on the sides of the green focals, it actually kind of transitions into the rest of the piece? Let's investigate. catch up on comments. Let's see. Shar says, I think you should do the green, blue, big, small. What? Shara, my brain's too tired the week for this. With the dagger point round beads. Do the green, blue, big, small. There's so many words. Oh my goodness. I really like the 3 stones together, so let's keep going. Now that we found something that excites me, might as well like keep going down that rabbit hole for a second. So do 5 of our seed beads and go back to our Shara says absolutely, and they should be rough smooth too. Shara, for some reason I can't compute anything in your comments today. And it's probably not a reflection. I'm saying I think it's a reflection on me today. Okay, I really like those 3 green together. Let's then do the ovals to the side. Do I have any other ovals I can use? Yeah, great. Let's try the bare ovals. I'm liking this. I'm getting excited again. This is medium soft flex, which off the top of my head, I believe is 49 strand. Yep, 49 steel strands in the soft flex medium, which is kind of my go-to because they have so many pretty colors in it. We're very low on colors right now in the shop. I keep meaning to get a new batch ordered from our friends at Soft Flex. Okay, y'all, I think we have something moving along here. Let's add on the oval. So I had my front side of my oval where the wire was coming forward. I have that face forward. And we'll do the same on the other side. Does anyone else design like this where I have to start in the center and build out from there? Which means I can't work off the roll as easily. But I have to start there or else we'll get lost. I can't just do 1/2 of a necklace. So coming in with one of our 6mm tri-facets. So those are on the website. Those are new as of yesterday. Back with our bronze seed beads. And then back to our ovals. So let's see what we think. I feel like we have something. I really like it. Sorry for the mess. Actually see what we're doing. I really like it. And those will hang pretty nicely once the necklace is more full and tightened up. I really like it. Anna Marie says, what's going inside the ovals? I don't know. I'm for now leaving them as is. I can always, since they're simple loops, I can always take them off and add. I am still intrigued by the idea of pre-night in them. Oh, that's really pretty. Oh gosh, dang it. Okay, fine. We're trying the pre-night. More wrapping. Feel like my hand's been wrapping wire for hours and they're about to give out. So we're gonna need probably a foot or 2. Probably 18 inches will be just fine to do this. Depending on how much coiling we have patience for. The more coiling we do, the stronger this will be. Like if we start the coiling from the top and work our way down, the coil's not going to end up going. It's not going to be able to go anywhere. But if we start in the middle, it's more like going to be able to shift downwards. But since these are going to be near the top anyway, it won't be too much coiling. So I'm going to go ahead and get my wire anchored on. We'll clean this up in a second and begin our coiling. So it looks like we have added on another Sam's Beach Shop item to this design. These are Pre-Night in the Rough, which I'm sure are on the website. Those are one of our Black Friday items. And so I've gotten myself going. I'm going to clean up all right as I go my coiling by squishing it together. And let's go ahead and get rid of our starting wire. And then we can push that all the way to the top as far as it'll go. Well, maybe that's as far as it'll go. Oh, there we go. So now the coil is all the way at the top, and we'll continue that wrapping. So this is a Rachel Miles technique where you push the wire through this way so it does not kink on you. See, every time I'm pushing that through, I used to bring the tip end through first, and every time it would mess up the wire and it'd be so annoying. So thank you, Rachel, for that tip. So we'll just we have to bring this down enough so that we can then bring the wire across. So you will have to semi-eyeball how far you'll need to go for yourself. Okay, I'm gonna do a few reps off camera to get us going. The other thing you could do is you could coil this entire oval for texture if you have a lot of patience. That's the sort of patience that Rachel Dallas has that I do not have. Okay, I think now it's, see, because where these pre-nets are drilled, we need to go lower so that they can have enough space. I don't know what it is, Anna Marie. I've never gravitated towards a beadboard. I have 5 of them. They're not very good quality. I would love one of those beautiful wood ones, but beads, once they're strung up, lay pretty different than, let's see how my oval's doing. They lay pretty different. Okay, that should be enough. Let's see, we kind of estimate how that wire is going to look. I think we can fit multiple pre-night pieces now. The test will be finding pieces that are narrow enough to fit. So let's go for some of our longer pieces maybe. These are a graduated strand. If I don't put spacers, I'm more likely to be able to fit 3. Let's see how we did. Okay, let's see how these are looking. I know they're going to be tricky as a rougher bead. Okay, so we did find 3 that'll fit. I think that one here needs to go in the middle, and I think we need a spacer on either end, and I think we'll be good. Am I going to wrap the top? I don't think I'm going to bring the wire, I'm not going to do the same wrapping, but I'm hoping that the shape of all of this mirrors the green pretty well. All right, let's get these off and then make those adjustments. And then I think we'll call it a day for class today. Because the stringing part is what There's endless possibilities, and I think it's so personal in terms of your design style. So I'll just have to play around a little bit more, and that's when I want to start mixing in my bronzite and those twisties. All right, what spacer will be small enough? Maybe just a little seed bead. Hopefully one seed bead's enough. This is tricky. Okay, I'll do 2 seed beads. Let's see which of those was the tall prehnite piece. Okay, there's our taller prehnite. We'll go in the middle. Drill hole, oh drill hole, there you go.
More soon. Yeah.
Hey y'all.
Hello.
You want to say hi to the bead stream?
Hello, bead stream.
Have a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've run into a new issue with the 2 seed beads is that we don't have. Oh, maybe if I push that over. Okay, I have enough room for like 1 seed bead. So we're going to go with 1 seed bead and call it and be happy with it. Okay, so essentially I have started the rep, and this is going to be the trickiest part, is dealing with all these prehnites. Okay. Okay. So just try to keep an eye on where that is so that it kind of stays low enough that it'll match. This is definitely going to be the trickiest part here. It's just getting it going, and then we'll be smooth sailing. Getting around these prehnites is going to be its own little challenge. But essentially, just make that coil. And just keep on going. You could also go downwards. It just wouldn't have the same symmetry. See how I'm already kind of gravitated upwards. Let's try to get that. See how I've pulled it up? That all needs to be a lot lower. I'm not sure if the wire is going to let me because it's pretty tight. But that essentially is the technique. I believe I have some roommates who are wanting to use the living room soon, so I think we should go ahead and call it there. But those are the basic techniques. We've gone over the wrapping of the brios. We did some knotted head pins. So I didn't get a chance to do those again, but definitely check out the replay for those. And then I think that's a great idea for the oval. So I'll keep messing with those and post the finished piece in Gem Chat. If you do it on Gem Chat also, if you make some version of this piece, please go ahead and share it on Gem Chat so we can see it. I think this is definitely a design that we're going to evolve. I didn't have the exact answer when I started. I don't have the exact answer now, but I think we have a lot of great ideas here. Wanda, you missed 5 very fast knotted head pins, indeed. Alrighty, y'all. Thank you so much for joining class today. I hope you have a beautiful evening. I hope you got something out of this class. I hope you're at least a little inspired, and I hope you have a great weekend full of creativity. Signing off, Sam's Bead Shop for this week, and I'll see you guys next week. I guess one note I should share is we're not going to have our live saw on Monday. We're going to be doing it on Tuesday. And then from there, we'll figure it out what the ongoing schedule will be, because I am now in a choir that meets on Mondays, and we can't do the live sale that time. Either we do it earlier in the day on Mondays or potentially on Tuesday. So we will have to sort that one out. But with that, cheers. Good night, everyone.